Hello and welcome to today's episode, which is all about veganising a French classic Pommes Aligot, which is quite possibly the ultimate in cheesy mashed potatoes. I'm never certain of the rules around putting other people's videos in your videos kind of thing, but I'll find some links so you can see it like the proper version, quote unquote, and I'll stick that down in the description. There was one on maybe Business Insider or something, and the way they serve it in a restaurant, they have a big pot of the Pommes Aligot, and then they take a plate up to it with a big chunk of meat, and then they kind of scoop the mess onto it, and it's like lava, like cheesy potatoey lava. You can serve it as a side dish, but I'm going to have it as like a bowl of comfort food. And the toppings that I've decided to put on there are chopped spring onions, some crispy fried onions, and then I'm also going to have a go at making some vegan bacon out of Yuba skin. So I'll do that first, because then that can be soaking and marinating. So this is dried, I don't know how to pronounce it, if it's Yuba or Uba, not sure. If you know, stick the correct pronunciation down in the comments for me, that would be amazing. I bought these dried sheets with the intent of making like a skin to go on the outside of the chicken drumsticks. It didn't work. I think because they've been dried, they go really brittle. So they've just been in the cupboard and I've not known what to do with it. So I thought I'll try and make like very crisp, thin bacon strip kind of things. And then I can put that on top of the potatoes as a little crispy topping. If you've got your own preferred vegan bacon flavouring, just make that up if you want the maple syrup and the kind of American type flavours. I'm going to stay away from the sweetness of the maple syrup. I've put some ground sumac into my pestle and mortar and powdered it down a bit finer. Sumac's a berry that's dried and it tastes a little bit lemony. I find it has like a bit like an irony sort of flavour that meat has. So I like putting that into bacon flavoured things because it, you know, does a lot of the work for you. So that was about half a teaspoon. So I'm going to put that into a measuring jug. I'll add a quarter teaspoon of smoked paprika to that, and then I can always adjust the flavours if it needs it. Teaspoon of chicken flavour stock powder, half a teaspoon of onion granules, quarter teaspoon of garlic powder, and I'll start with a quarter teaspoon of nooch, nutritional yeast. I'll do a little blob of tomato puree, so maybe half teaspoon. I'll add a bit of water to that, 50 mils or so. Give that a whisk. It's a little bit too much tomato, so if you're going to do it, I'd do a quarter teaspoon. But I'll do a little bit more nutritional yeast, and then I think we're there. Yeah, do like a teaspoon of nooch. I've got a tiny bit of olive oil in this oil bottle here. I just made a spinach and feta pie, and I use this to brush the phyllo pastry. So I'm going to take advantage of what's in there and add this marinade into it. Look at that, perfect amount. Couldn't plan that if I tried. There's a little hole in the middle, so I'm just going to put my finger over while I shake that together. I'm going to marinate the Yuba in this glass dish. So let's see. Yeah, I've got a feeling that hole's not big enough. Oh no, there we go. Well, no, that's just going to cause problems, isn't it? So let's do it in a more controlled manner. Pour some on. And then brush it round. And then I'll flood a load on here. And then I can put another sheet on top of that. And then cover this one. And then these can just be in there chilling out. And then I'll probably pop them in the air fryer for a couple of minutes just to crisp up. And hopefully that will be a nice little bacon flavoured snack. Just to add a bit of crunch on top of the potatoes. I cooked my potatoes in the Instant Pot. I put a really good pinch of salt in with the potatoes while they were cooking, and they do taste nicely salty. As this is a French dish, you wouldn't be surprised to hear it's made with tons of butter and heavy cream. So I'm going to use vegan butter and then coconut cream. As soon as you start adding other flavours into coconut cream, it stops tasting like coconut, so don't worry about that. I'm going to start warming through the coconut cream in a saucepan with 2 minced cloves of garlic. Put these in a garlic press and just squeeze them through. I buy cartons of coconut cream. If you put a can of coconut milk in the fridge, the cream will rise to the top so you can scrape it off. That's another alternative. And then I'm going to put this on the stove. I'll do it on 4. Mine goes up to 9, so it's kind of a low heat. I've got this pan. I'm going to start warming it on 2 just to get the chill off the pan while I rice the potatoes in. So potato ricer works in the same way as a garlic press. You just fill up the chamber and push it down. It's around 650 grams of potatoes. That's what you want. Ideally, Aligot should be made with waxy potatoes, apparently. I'm just going with what I had in my drawer. So I've got some baby potatoes, which are waxy, but then there's some baking potatoes as well, which are fluffy. We'll see. So that's all of the potatoes riced. So I'm just going to work potato around a bit, smudge it down. I'm using a recipe I found on seriouseats.com. There's a bit of a guide on this. Obviously that's not a vegan one. It seems to be in aligot, what's happening is the protein in the cheese is combining with the starch in the potato, and that's what's forming the stretchiness. It's not going to be the exact same, but it will be hopefully gloopy, sticky and delicious. I'll now add in 115 grams of vegan butter. I think it's equivalent of about a stick. I'll work the butter in. Let that melt into the potatoes. I'm just going to quickly work on the cheese, just get that all broken down. I'm using Cathedral City plant-based in this. This is the nicest tasting commercial vegan cheese that I've found. It tastes like cheddar. We need 300 grams of it, and then it doesn't grate wonderfully well. You can see how brittle it is. So I think I'm just going to kind of break it down by hand. And I need you to repeat after me. We do not eat Pommes Aligot every single day, okay? Your doctor will murder you. Yeah, this is a treat food because of the amount of butter and cheese. Yeah, definitely not health food. Healthy for your soul, no doubt, although there's going to be much lower in cholesterol than a dairy equivalent would be, but still. Let's not invite the Reaper. I've broken it down that way, and then I'll go back through it the other way. I reckon a vegan camembert would be really nice in here as well, you know, to get that flavour. There's a particular type of cheese, like a French cheese, that the dish is classically made with, but apparently it's hard getting hold of that cheese, even the dairy version, so goodness knows if there's a plant-based version. I've got 2 slices of applewood smoked, so I'm going to bung that in, I think, just for an extra little bit of flavour. Okay, so now I'm going to turn the heat up onto the potatoes. I'll put it on 4. So what we're going to do is keep stirring the potato, and apparently that releases all of the starch from the potatoes. In the Serious Eats recipe, apparently this is in complete contradiction to what you should do for pomme puree, because you don't want to overwork pomme puree, but that's what we do want to do in this. So we're waiting for it to go very kind of thick and pasty. Because I've not made this, I'm not 100% sure what I should be looking for, and no doubt the vegan butter will be reacting differently than a dairy butter would. Plus I've got the floury potatoes in there as well. Okay, so I'm gonna add in the coconut cream. I might do half at a time. I'm doing kind of half at a time just to make it a bit easier to stir. So at this stage, you could leave it there, and then you've got pomme puree if you wanted. But that's not what we want today. Once everything's all well incorporated, nice and consistent, we're going to start adding the cheese in. So I'll do a couple spoonfuls at a time, I think. And I'm adding a bit at a time just to make it a bit easier on my arms. Yeah, really, we're just allowing the cheese to melt into the potato and just become one glorious gooey mass. I guess it's a bit of a blend between fondue and mashed potato. I wonder if you could melt the cheese in the cream, and that might make this bit easier. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that at some point in the future. I'll give that a try and update the pinned comment. You do want the potato as smooth as you can. So if you haven't got the ricer, you can force it through a sieve. It will take some arm work, but I think the results will be worth it, kind of thing. I mean, I'm getting these great kind of ribbons in there. So I'm hoping this will give us a good approximation. Yeah, I think make it easier on yourself by doing the cheese smaller or buying a bag of grated cheese. I'm gonna like Popeye by the end of this. I've got my pan on a 6, so it's kind of medium high-ish. I'm just paying attention to the bottom of the pan so nothing sticks. Okay, going with the last of the cheese, and then just keep cooking this down, I guess. I think I'm gonna put the Yuba in the air fryer. So I'm just gonna put both pieces in there on top of each other, I think. A bit softened, because it soaked up all that liquid that we put it in. And then I'm gonna put another piece of liner on top. And because it's quite light, I'm gonna try and pin things down with a little toast rack. I'm air frying that at 200 degrees C, probably for a couple of minutes. So it is a little bit stretchy, not necessarily as stretchy as I wanted it, but at least I know where I'm at, so that in the future I can refine it. 200's too high for the Yuba, So I've separated the pieces, taken one out and put it back on at 180. Here's our little potato dish with some shards of the Yuba bacon. I'm going to dive in with a spoon. Why pretend? It's potato, cheese, garlic and butter. What's not to love? Yes. I keep trying to think of what to say. And I can't. It's knocking me senseless. The texture of it's a tiny bit grainy maybe. I wonder if that's the floury potatoes that are doing that. So perhaps try to find a waxy variety. Yukon Gold maybe, that kind of thing. I think that's what the recipe I found, that's what they're saying to use. So yeah, I think there's a couple of ideas I can try for refining it. I'm wondering maybe adding in a slurry of tapioca starch and oat milk, or maybe reserve some of the coconut cream and mix that in with some tapioca starch, because tapioca is very stretchy. That's what you use to make vegan cheese. So that might be worth a go. The Yuba bacon. Just adds a nice dimension of kind of smoky bacon flavour, a bit of crunch. So it's a nice bit of texture on top of all the softness. And I'll keep updating the pinned comment as I refine it as the months go on. Yeah, because it's going to be a while before I do this again. I mean, it's not the cheapest thing either. Like a block of cheese is £4. I'd like to say a great big thank you to my supporters on Patreon. Your support keeps me buoyed up and my fridge stocked full of £4 blocks of cheese. If you want to join up and get some behind the scenes access, I'll leave the link down in the description for you. For example, my patrons are going to be voting on which dish they want to see next week, whether it'll be the pomme or the spinach pie. I'll leave it up to them to decide because I don't know. For more perfectly potent potatoes, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you'll be alerted every time there's a new video. While you're waiting for the next one, have a look at this.